Welcome to Joie Benu. We are happy you decided to move here. Here in our little city, you won't find anyone sad. People are always happy, always smiling, and most importantly, everyone stays here. Once you move in, you'll never want to leave. You'll see. I'm Mayor Brienne, and I will give you the rundown of the rules before I leave you to enjoy your stay. 1. Be sure to water your lawn and the plants. Neglecting them causes unwanted attention. 2. Have the trash cans out every Friday at 2 p.m. Missing the time may result in an unwanted visit. 3. Pets must have a collar and leash. Unleashed pets tend to wander into restricted zones, which is highly discouraged. 4. Violence will not be tolerated in this city. Verbal altercations are included. We like to keep it peaceful here. 5. Stealing and breaking into things is prohibited. They are always watching, and they never blink. 6. Curfew is at 10 p.m. The streets are off limits after 10. You would hate to be caught out there. Trust me. 7. Stay out of restricted areas. You'll know them when you see them. You should never see them. 8. Take your happy vitamin every morning. Failure to do so will be detected. Everyone, including pets, is required to take theirs. 9. There are checkpoints set up around the city. This is how we pick up the despondents. 10. You are expected to wear the city-issued outfits only. 11. Do not stare at the other citizens. Maintain social distance and respect their privacy. 12. Running and jumping is prohibited in this city. Walk, smile, and stay calm. 13. We are aware of the counterfeit vitamins being distributed. If you are suspected of distributing or receiving exuberance vitamins, consequences will be permanent. 14. Drones monitor the city. They watch, they listen, they respond quickly. Be on your best behavior. 15. The machines that clean the streets are essential. They handle things that aren't meant to be here. Vermin. You will love it here. A lifetime of cheerful bliss awaits. Remember to keep smiling. No one wants to see you frowning. Sadness isn't something we allow. After all, you'll never leave. They force me to keep encouraging people to move here, and I'm sick of it. Every day, the smile gets harder to fake. The city is dying. The streets are crumbling. The wall whispers secrets that would send normal people into chaos. But those dang vitamins, keep everyone in denial, including me. They tell us it's for the greater good, and in the beginning, I believed it. I realized the truth far too late, though. Well, at least that's the last family for today. They're blissfully ignorant of what happens when their smiles disappear, when they slip just once. I've seen it. It's too late for changes. Maybe it'll be different for them. Maybe. It sat there, undulation pulsing on the top of his head. Its pincers dug deeply into his skull as he smiled at me. His lips stretched too tightly, revealing his overly white, straight teeth. So, champ, what do I gotta do to get you into one of these babies? He said, with his finger jutting to the maggot spider monstrosity. In response, it gurgled and gulped something from deep within his skull. I don't think I'm interested. It looks painful. He laughs, swaying back and forth, an exaggerated marionette kind of laughter. The thing didn't move, stuck snugly like a tick, like it was part of him now. He mimes wiping a tear as he continues to giggle. Oh, that's good. No, my sweet, dense boy. That's the beauty. It has a numbing agent. He knocks on his head to prove the point. Can't feel a thing. Come on, though. It must be miserable, right? Feeling sad, tired, or lonely. All for what? To be anti-establishment? He does another jerky laugh at his own idea. How do I know that after, I'd still be me? He stopped laughing. For a tense moment, he just stared at me. His eyes dilated with the bliss being pumped into him. His smile stagnant. Even with no change in his expression, I felt like he was angry and that I had said something wrong. Of course you would. Who else would you be? It felt like a dare, like he was egging me on. I'd like to go. He stared a bit longer, his lips twitching slightly, the skin crackling from the constant tension. Well, I can't keep you here. but I welcome you back when you need us. I quickly stood and nearly ran out of the place, swearing he'd never see me again. My mom died last week. At the mortician, I searched her face for where my mother used to be. Her face was stiff, still stuck in that sickly grin they all had as he wrenched the thing from her scalp, her brain, what was left of it, oozing out of the octagonal holes in her skull. The creature writhed and squealed, begging for a new host. The mortician looked at me, delighted.
Your mother wanted you to have hers. How honorable.
I couldn't bring myself to touch the grotesque leech and opted to take it home in a box. Now, as I lay in bed, sobbing on and off, I can hear it, scratching at the boards beneath me, begging to slurp up my delicious misery as I run out of reasons to keep it from its meal. Maybe if I am someone else, just maybe, at least, I'll be her. I struggled lifting the basket to the basement. This task, usually shared with my sister, today was a punishment. It wasn't my fault. I was playing and didn't see the cat. I fell, knocking the television from its stand. Father was furious. TV was a lifeline for him. News played constantly, connecting us with the world beyond our remote home. He ordered me to do the laundry, calling me a useless child. I'm no child. The basket tripped me, but I braced myself on the door. "Away from there!" my uncle called, taking the basket from me. "You must be careful. First the TV and now stumbling into the snake pit."
It was an accident,
I replied weakly.
It's locked anyways. I wasn't going inside.
Those snakes are no joke.
He sat the basket down.
Not only are they the most vicious creatures you'll ever encounter, but they're also this family's livelihood.
His face softened.
Go play.
He winked.
It's too lovely out to be inside.
That night, I heard the snakes and imagined laying in the pit. The darkness. Although Father kept them my whole life, I'd only seen the snakes a few times, taken to and from the pit. He kept rare snakes that brought important people to organize purchasing deals. One other time I saw them, my cousin brought me. He shimmied the screws from the door's brackets, creating a gap big enough for a child. Inside, the air felt thick. Terrified, I inched towards the locked bars circling the pit. I peeked inside at the snakes squirming. I felt sad. They looked confused and cramped. One looked at me. Our eyes met, and I ran, my cousin laughing behind me. I'm no child. Tonight, I'd see the snakes. Alone. I approached the door, careful not to wake anyone, and pulled the screws as my cousin had. After some wiggling, they were out. Pulling the door, I squeezed through the gap. Reality hit as I landed inside the room. It felt exhilarating. I opened the curtains, allowing some moonlight in. Light reflected off something by the door. A key. My cousin had never opened the bars. Key in hand, I turned the metal lock. I froze when it creaked, worried I'd wake someone. Hearing nothing, I completed the turn. The latch shifted. I held the cold bar and pulled. It was when I peered in that I realized the enormity of my mistake. Too late to reverse. A snake lunged. Everything went black. I woke up in a hospital room. Missing home, I turned on the news. At first, I didn't recognize my home. Large vehicles surrounded it. I caught a glimpse of my uncle being led into a truck. Then I saw the snakes wrapped in blankets, put in other vehicles. The image jumped to a reporter at an airport. Live written across the corner. The snakes, cleaner now, ran into the arms of people, smiling and crying. They hugged and cried. The snakes were freed.
Am I the only one who hates doing nice things for people? I despise the people who go out of their way to do nice things for others. The ones who feel fulfilled when they do favors for friends or donate to fundraisers. Or the ones who volunteer at food banks and offer to pay for strangers' coffees in line. I only do these things because I am supposed to. I hate it, because what difference does it actually make in their lives anyway? I told my dad this the other day, and he looked at me with a frown. He told me it wasn't that hard to be nice. He suggested I help people in ways that would actually make a difference, so I could feel fulfilled. I decided he was right, and dedicated the next month to really helping people out. I did my first good deed last week. Boy, let me tell you, it felt so good. I was filling up my tank on a particularly cold night. In the corner of the lot, there was a homeless woman passed out on the curb. Several syringes lying on the ground beside her. I thought, boy, she is going to be cold tonight. I realized this was my chance. I slid the needle into her arm and emptied the rest of the syringes into her veins. That would keep her nice and warm. 2 days later, I was at the same gas station, standing in line to pay. I overheard 2 students complaining about the local high school, talking about how old it was and how overdue it was for a renovation. I filled up an extra jug of gasoline and brought it with me to the school that night. I set the grass ablaze and watched the flames swallow the building. Now they'd build a brand new facility. My friend called me the other day in tears. She was distraught about her cheating husband. It was her 4th marriage, and she couldn't stand the embarrassment of getting another divorce. I told her she should stay at her friend's that night to clear her head. When Greg came home from work, I beat him to a bloody pulp with a tire iron. Luckily, they live close to a lake, and dumping him there was easy enough. No need for divorce when you're a widow. Last weekend, I was over at my boss's holiday party. He got pretty wasted and started complaining about his life with a newborn baby. He went on and on about losing his freedom and how easy life was before she was born. After everyone left, he passed out on the couch. I grabbed little Sophia while he and his wife slept and threw her in a dumpster on the side of the road. I was so proud that I could give him his freedom back. Turns out my dad was right. It's not that hard to do nice things for people.
News headline: Awaiting a rescue, which never came. The news article states, the remains of Derek Robert Constantine, a Stockton, California native, was recovered today. He has been missing for over 10 years. The badly decomposed body was discovered in a collapsed mountain fissure in the Sugar Valley Mountains. Police have initiated a manhunt for Juan Carlos Hernandez. He is sought as a material witness in connection with the strange case, which is now classified as a homicide. Detective Harris Freeman of the CBI said that 2 important pieces of evidence were recovered from the crime scene. One is a confession note allegedly written by the suspect, and the other was reputedly penned by the victim himself while imprisoned within the natural earthen fissure. Constantine's letter officially names Hernandez as his killer. However, all persons are presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Below is an excerpt of Constantine's final testament, released from the victim's personal affidavit. Out hiking one afternoon on a solo trek, I discovered a small crevasse in the hillside near a mountain stream in Sugar Valley. It was too small to be described as a cave, but the entrance would have permitted a full-sized, agile person to enter if they could contort themselves enough to squeeze inside. Not that I possessed the desire that day to finagle my way into the narrow opening. I had no idea how far back the passage went, and feared having an uncomfortable wildlife encounter. I wasn't about to wedge myself inside the tight fissure to investigate. The first rule of exploring is to avoid doing dangerous things. The second is to travel with a buddy. When you do those dangerous things anyway. So one of you can go for help and rescue if a crisis arises. That was 2 good reasons to avoid it. Ultimately, the discovery was an interesting find in the remote wooded enclave, but I had more important destinations in mind to explore. I made a mental note to mention the potential critter haven to a buddy of mine, and was on my way. I might have completely forgotten about the earlier diversion, had the memory not been triggered by the mention of strange animal tracks being spotted in the vicinity. News of this anomaly came from the very friend I meant to tell about the cave in the first place. When I asked Carlos for more details about the footprints, I remembered the little hideaway on the hill, and realized it was a likely source for the creature, which left the unusual paw prints. Immediately, his face grew pale, and he became uncharacteristically animated.
"Don't go in there, Derek. It's not safe,"
he practically shouted.
"I need you to listen to me for a change."
I was puzzled by his visceral, exaggerated reaction. It was out of proportion with the earlier calm temperature of our conversation. 1 minute my friend was telling me matter-of-factly about large, unknown animal footprints in the soft mud around the mountain stream. The next, he was making an emotional plea for me to avoid my new discovery at all costs. He acted like it was a deadly trap, and my life depended on believing him. It strongly implied he knew something about the crevasse, and I seized on the insinuation.
Sheesh, Carlos. Calm down, dude. What's in there anyway? It can't be that bad.
Without explanation, he just repeated his brash warning, this time with even more animus in his quavering voice. I'm not gonna lie. The evasive way he avoided answering made me deeply curious about it. I even tried redirecting my questions to focus more on the unknown creature which made the tracks nearby, but he stonewalled about that too. In the end, he simply shut down and wouldn't talk about any of it. We went from bringing up the subject to simultaneously refusing to answer any follow-up questions. The juxtaposition was bizarre and left a bad taste in my mouth. I sensed it was a sore spot to him. I decided to leave and give him space. At the time, I didn't know what was troubling him so much, but honestly was too put off by the lingering subconscious hostility in his voice to figure it out. It seemed to come out of nowhere and implied I was reckless and incapable of taking care of myself. Who was he to tell me what to do? I'm arguably a better hiker and explorer than him anyway. It felt deeply condescending, like he was talking down to a small child. That infuriated me to no end. I suppose it could be chalked up to foolish ego, folly, or hurt male pride. But this morning I found myself marching willfully toward that small opening in the hillside. Now, I realize I was a fool on a fool's errand. At the entrance, I debated briefly what I already knew I was going to do. My mission was to show Carlos I was fully capable of deciding what was and wasn't safe. I had pepper spray in my pack of supplies if there was a bear or dangerous animal inside. Safe, exploring dangerous places with a buddy be damned. I was going it alone. I was so determined to defy his disrespectful warning that I'd stopped thinking logically and threw caution to the wind. It wasn't the first time I looked before I leaped. But knowing what I do now, it was destined to be my last. I should have wondered why he'd become so adamant to stop me. I realized now it was a clever ruse, and I embraced the stupidity. I pushed my hiking pack into the hole first, then shimmied in behind it. Once fully inside, I saw that it opened up into a small, closed-off room. A quick scan of the inside with my headlamp revealed I was thankfully alone. Over in the corner, I saw an ornate pile of rocks. They were artfully stacked in such a way to suggest they were arranged by human hands. There was also a bottle of Spanish sherry called Amontillado leaned against it, with a note addressed to someone named Fortunato. On top of the rock pile was a neatly folded letter. I'll admit, I grinned from ear to ear. It was from Carlos. He obviously knew I'd ignore his insincere warning and take the bait. Sadly, he was right. But my foolish grin rapidly turned to a scowl as I read his venomous words. It all makes sense now. The reason for his sudden change in demeanor. And my reckoning was finally clear.
Dearest Derek, Fortunato, a man of honor doesn't seduce his friend's wife. That's the actions of a worthless scoundrel. With the greatest of irony, you found yourself in another tight place, which you shouldn't have entered. This shall be your tomb. Enjoy the wine, friend. You deserve your fate here, asshole. Goodbye. Montresor.
I read his angry words with tears of regret in my eyes. The mistakes I'd made could not be undone, and I had no means of begging his forgiveness. Escape was impossible. An explosion at that moment shook the entire mountainside. He obviously set up dynamite at the top to permanently seal me in. I watched in horror as the entrance closed and went dark. My tortured screams were stifled by the haunting echo of being buried alive. Perhaps someday my lifeless body will be discovered and the truth will finally be revealed. I ask the heavens for divine forgiveness for my sins and shortcomings, and secular justice for the one who left me here in this pit to die. Let it be known in no uncertain terms that Carlos Hernandez was my judge, jury, and executioner. Signed, Derek Robert Constantine.
There are hospitals where people can hear the thoughts of coma patients. When this technology was first invented, it came with caveats. The first was that the machine only worked on a random handful of coma patients. This angered many heartbroken family members who'd excitedly waited for the technology. The second was that the mind-scanning devices were not powered by electricity, but some proprietary secret. Despite its exclusive, mysterious nature, this new technology yielded incredible results. Entire thoughts of a select few comatose were broadcast to their loved ones. Nostalgic memories, song lyrics, and philosophical ruminations were streamed right from their brains into speakers, bringing closure to loved ones. As an orderly at one of the few hospitals using this tech, I grew curious. Dr. Wincott, the neuroscientist in charge of the coma projection unit, was tight-lipped, and we were under strict orders never to pry for more info. If patients were a viable candidate for coma projection, we'd project their thoughts. But what about the rejected candidates? What would happen if the scanner was used on this majority? Surely it couldn't worsen their situation if they're already in a long-term coma. One day, my curiosity got the better of me. While doing my rounds, I snuck into the coma ward. I entered the room of one of the rejected coma patients, Mrs. Flowers, a middle-aged woman in a coma for 3 years after being struck by a cyclist. Despite her long stay, she looked peaceful. Nothing could have prepared me for what I heard from the speakers when I turned the mind scanner on. Howling, agonized, unrelenting screams. Minutes upon minutes of screaming. The sound was so guttural, I nearly collapsed as Mrs. Flowers' comatose cries reverberated around the room. By the time I switched it off, Dr. Wincott had already been summoned by the cacophony. "What the hell?" I sputtered to him in the doorway. "Those were her screams. She's conscious and suffering." I pointed to her, motionless in bed. "That's why it's better not to use the device on most," Dr. Wincott answered emotionlessly. "Some people are peaceful in comas. Their families pay top dollar to hear their thoughts. But most long-term patients are like Mrs. Flowers." "Then why not pull the plug? Raise the alarm about what they're experiencing?" Dr. Wincott just cackled, motioning to the scanner. "What do you think is powering the tech in the first place? It's those screams. I'd learned too much. As I tried to flee the building, I felt the sharp push of Dr. Wincott's hands against my back. I tumbled down that flight of stairs and straight into the coma I'm in now. Within my comatose mind, I repeat this story to myself, again and again, on loop, hoping someone uses the device on me and learns the truth. If you're hearing this, please blow the whistle on Dr. Wincott and coma projection. If you're not, then it won't be long until I'm screaming too.